Namaste, welcome to Inspirations, the Essence of Life. As we come up with distinguished guests and talk about the inspiring stories of them. So today also we are here with one of the inspiring guests, and we are very happy to have you in our studio, Nripendra. And
Thank you.
We would like you to introduce yourself to our viewers.
Sure. Namaste, Nripendra Khatri. I have a long story. I think we'll cover a lot of it.
We would like to listen to your life story. Nripendra Khatri, sir, from where, and then you went abroad and came back to Nepal with a vision. So, just trying to hear that before getting.
Sure. I mean, I started my schooling from Darjeeling.
Okay.
I was a very young kid when I went to Darjeeling. I was actually 5 years old. I was the shortest kid in the school. Everybody used to look at me and say, "This kid hasn't cried. Why are you crying?"
Okay.
So it was a boarding school that I went to, right?
Okay.
After I finished my boarding school, then I went to London to study business administration. But I couldn't stay long enough in London because it was too expensive. The cost, accommodation cost, everything was too expensive. So I decided, why not go to the States?
Okay.
So once I got to the States, that's where I think I really got to do what I really wanted to do in life, I did finish my schooling from there, my college from there, but at one point, I'm a finance graduate, so I was working as a stockbroker in New York in 2008, and you guys probably know that the market crashed, right?
Yeah.
So the market crashed, there was no finance jobs anywhere. So it was really hard for finance folks to stick around in New York. And I'm not going to mention the person who motivated me to come back, but one of my family members, I met him there, and he decided, I had a good conversation with him, and he was the one saying like, "Hey, why are you guys staying here? You guys should be coming back home. That's where we need youth like you, So I think that was the turning point. It had already been so many years I was away from home. Being the eldest son, I thought I should go back home. I should be with my parents. I should do something for the country, So that was my turning point. And yeah, I came back. Now it's been about 12 years I'm back in Nepal.
And when you come back to Nepal, and you're working now, and you have lead in a lot of projects and all. So we would also like to hear that story after you came back to Nepal. What the differences that you saw, and what your assimilations were after you came to Nepal.
So the thing about Nepal is, it has changed. When you look at it, it's changed a lot. But when I look at it, I see no changes. I just see more people up here. It's more crowded. Many cars, bigger roads, right? Many houses. I still feel like, as long as I'm inside my house, I'm inside the United States. But soon as I step outside, I feel like I'm in Mexico. So it's chaotic. I think that's what a developing country goes through, a lot of chaos before it starts getting more settled. So once I came to Nepal, the scary thing was, coming back and living here, looking at it. You go to the petrol pump, there's still a line. That line never ended. So it is still the same, but there's a lot of progressive things. A lot of multinational organization has come in. Youth are working. Unlike in our age, like youth never worked. We just had fun, but now people are more responsible. So you see that inward of migrants from outside the valley as well. A lot of people coming in. A lot of economic progress going on, So as soon as I came in as well, I thought why not work for a national company? So I joined Chaudhary Groups.
Okay.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot of things, especially in that 18, 19 months I was there. I learned a lot about Nepal, how the economy works, what are the business opportunities up here, what's feasible, what's not. That was a good turning point. Whatever I learned in school, that 18, 19 months at Chaudhary Group, was more like a practical vocational training to really get you out in the field of markets, you know.
Indeed.
So after that, it was more about, you know, I wanted to try something different. I wanted to be like, hey, you know, we've heard, like, we always read like Nepal एउटा कृषि प्रधान देश हो, right? So we thought, like, I thought, like, why not do something more focused on agriculture? So with a group of friends, we decided why not do bakra palan, you know, goat farming, and we even had few meat shops.
Okay.
But we later realized that meat shop is not meant for everybody. You know? As I was going through, I was learning a lot, had learned a lot, and at that time, you guys all remember the earthquake struck, you know, April 25th, 2015. I think that's where things started changing a little bit. There were like, every NGOs came in, everywhere, from all around. You go to Gorkha, there were like 120 INGOs trying to help, you know. And luckily I was there as well, and I got an opportunity to work with one, and I started developing my skills. And now I'm more into, you know, like sharing those real messages that people needs to know, not just to the people, but also to the donor community, to the government, ensuring that there's accountability, transparency in all the work we do. So yeah, it's been a great learning, and I hope to learn more.
What exactly motivates you a lot? I mean, there are so many other dimensions of motivations for, I mean, that's individually, things could be very different. But I would love to hear from you. What exactly motivates you?
That's a very tricky question, but I think like motivation is more about, like, you know, I think it has to do with a lot with your personal self. You know, like you can be motivated, but if you don't have that push factor, you're never gonna do it, right? So I will recall this, I will answer this a little differently. You know, like I think it was my mama who told me once, you know, when you're single, you walk on two legs. When you get married, you walk on four legs. When you have a kid, you walk on six legs, and it just keeps multiplying, right? So I think every stage has a different motivational factor. At the moment, I would say my 8-year-old daughter, who is always on top of me. You know, anything I say, I'm gonna do it. She's the first one reminding me, like, hey, have you done it? So if you have that kind of check and mate, you could have a friend, you could have your partner or your parents always pushing you, saying like, I'm going to do this. And they keep reminding you like, hey, you haven't done it. I think that's motivation. The rest comes within. The rest has to come from within. You cannot say that I'm motivated and not do anything. That's not possible. But even if you're motivated and there's some factor continuously asking you, pushing you, that is your motivator. So for me, my 8-year-old daughter is the motivator.
I would say that's a very, I mean, philosophical kind of answer, but indeed it makes a lot of sense to me and to the viewers that are watching us. So every time Nepali society is being equipped with information by external development partners, and you are on the major role of that. So what role of communication in terms of social transformation, what role of communication have you realized, or what is exactly, how can communication equip a Nepali society in terms to be aware of certain things, or to be empowered? So you are the right person to hear this answer.
No, I think, I mean, like, if I understand your question right, I think when you talk about communication, right, I cannot come here and talk in such a language that half of the people are not going to understand it. My objective is to ensure that what I speak, even a 6th, 7th grader can properly understand. So I think what you need, when you think about communication, you got to think about like, how can you make it as simple as possible? The simplicity has to be there. And again, I mean, you cannot just make it simple. It has to be meaningful. You know, once you say something, it has to have a substantial meaning so people can carry on with it. So make it simple so that people can relate to it. And when it comes to behavior change, it's not just once, it's not just twice, it's not just 3 times. You just got to keep repeating it. Like, you know, end of Nepal Television, there's this song that comes and it comes again. It's branding. But you know that soon as it comes, you know, like, oh, that's Nepal TV. Because we've heard it so many times, we know exactly. So I think communication has to be that way as well. You know, you got to be You got to ensure that the people understands it properly, and you got to keep pushing it until they actually take something out of it. Okay. Normally nowadays, when you talk to people, if it's a little, you ask something, they always answer in such a way that
So complex.
yeah, I mean, it's so complex that, people, whoever is watching the interview, just feel like, oh, should I open a dictionary or just change the channel?
Indeed.
Rather, listen
Yeah.
to me, make it simple,
Indeed.
don't use jargons, stick to what's going on. At the moment, it's about COVID. We should be talking about COVID. We should be talking about wearing masks, hand hygiene, keeping distance.
I've seen a lot of organizations. They're choosing complex communication tools. For example, chatbots, or they're using a group chat mechanism, or they're using a different kind of AI bots and all those things. But when Nripendra Singh Khatri comes into place, he chooses radios or dramas, and that's very important too. So I would love to hear from you yourself on how do you pick the communication channels for the message framing and dissemination.
So I think, like, do you remember when you were a kid, like, you go to the zoo, outside the zoo, there would be like people sitting around, a monkey dancing, people dancing.
And clapping,
Yeah, clapping, snake comes out, does so many things, right? That's what pulls the crowd, right? It was always about our culture. If you look back, it's always about showing to receive, to understand. So it's all about creating a scene, drama, singing, dancing. That's what pulls the crowd, right? So now when you think about all the resources you already have, you have the radio, you have the television, you have internet. Now it's all digital, it's getting deeper and deeper. But what you need to understand is, I think there's no message that is only for adults unless you talk something else. So what I think is, like, whenever I'm trying to create a message to disseminate, I want to ensure that it's not just the mother and father that listens to it. The kids listen to it too. Because kids are the one who reminds us all the time. I'm going to come back again, What they hear, what they see once, they remember. So you do a drama that makes the kid more interesting. He wants to get interested. He wants to get into the drama. He wants to learn about it. TV programs, stories, that's where they want to invest their time. But if we do, like, talk shows talking about rocket science, how to build a rocket, I can talk about it on and on, but nobody's going to understand it, and we have to go back again, open the books, do it in theory. So if I exactly turn it around, instead of talking about how to make a rocket, how about I have 5 kids sit around with different things, and I say, like, hey, this is the one part of the rocket, this is another part of rocket, and we join it and we fly it, right? It's a combination, a team effort, plus it's different things that makes a rocket. So people understand it better. And when somebody copies it, they're like, hey, we need 5 more people for it. That's already creating a team spirit.
Indeed.
So I think we should not forget our tradition. We should never forget our tradition. With technology, we've moved way ahead, but we need to go back. We need to go back and see how those old techniques can be used in technologies.
Indeed.
Yeah. So radios, TVs, digital is the next thing.
Next thing. So how do you think digitalization is reshaping the message and communication dissemination mechanism in Nepal?
I think digitalization is great. Look at Nepal. Since the lockdown, I think in Asia we are the #1 importers of cell phones right now. Even a 2-year-old, two grader has a phone because he or she's got to attend a class, and that's only possible through a cell phone, right?
Yeah.
The good thing is that the messaging has become very easy. Now you can message, any key thing you want to share to a mass audience is very on a push of a button.
Indeed.
But there are certain things that the digital society brings as well, It is uncensored.
Yeah. There are pros and there are cons at the same time.
The cons are, again, they are there. So, especially for our age, where we went from both writing on paper to using a laptop and now sending messages through cell phones, we've seen all phases, right? But especially for the kids, they don't even know how to turn the pages. They do this on the thing, you know.
Yeah.
They think like it's a cell phone, you know. So
Yeah.
I think with them we need to be more careful about, you know, how this social media, I mean digital marketing moves ahead. How do we control that? You know, there should be some kind of a parental control mechanism in place for the kids. But yeah, in general, digital marketing is the next thing. You know, I mean, it could basically do anything now. I mean, look at currency. Currency has gone crypto now. You know,
Indeed, yeah.
Ecuador was the first country, I think, recently to approve Bitcoin as their legal tender, and there might be other countries coming in as well.
Yeah.
And it's a volatile market, a lot of new things going on, but it just has to be like, you know, well maintained. And especially in the context of Nepal, where digital marketing is growing so much, I think we need to be careful as well, especially with our younger kids, on how they use it.
What are the impacts of the female targeted interventions for a household that you have seen? Anything you would like to share on that?
So, I mean, especially, I mean, like in our projects, like, you know, when we work with females, more on the empowerment side, it's more based on livelihood, agriculture, and more or less, you know, like reconstruction. So I'll give you an example, you know, like there's a construction going right outside the house I live right now, you know. So I was sitting outside and there were men working and women working as well. And men were laying bricks. Women were carrying mud, you know, and dumping it. Then I asked them like, hey, how come you guys don't lay bricks too? We don't have the training. And I say, okay, so do you guys get paid the same? No. We get less pay than the other guy because he's skilled, obviously, right? So in our projects, what we made sure was like, hey, to ensure that women and men get the same pay, why not train them equally? You know, even if it's about laying bricks, train them both. It depends on their interest later in the future. If they want to continue it, they want to master it, they want to get over it, it's up to them. But at least creating that platform for them where they can equally get the training makes them capable enough. And they're like probably some of the program participants you interviewed were those people who really took that challenge and moved ahead one step at a time, you know. So if you look at a lot of the women that we worked with, some have become contractors. They're doing big businesses, you know, building multiple houses. If you look at livelihood sections where goat shelters and stuff, they started out with one goat and now they have so many goats that they are thinking about opening a meat shop.
They became an entrepreneur. Okay.
So I think it's about like, again, it's all about interest. You know, I can teach someone something forever, but if the person doesn't have the interest, they're never gonna take it, right? But I think the approach should be more like, you know, the government says 33% women mandatory. Why 33? I would say if there is more, the better, you know. Yeah, I mean, the more the better. Because end of the day, you know it, I know it. In our house, who runs the house? My mom, your mom, right?
Yeah,
they're the one who needs to be empowered, right? So I think we need to give them more opportunity. We need to be more careful with them. We need to ensure that, you know, even if they get bored, how do we make it more interesting so they keep engaging? So I think that factor itself would push it along. So yeah, I mean, women should be empowered all the time. Fill up.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And any key messages to the audiences, especially the young people? Any key messages that you would like to deliver tonight?
Yeah, the key message right now would be like, you know, register for your vaccine. It's very, very important. You know, once you get your vaccines, you can do a lot more things that you cannot do without the vaccine. Ensure you wear a mask, maintain 2 meter distance, and keep washing your hands. That's the only message I can give right now.
Thank you very much, Nripendra sir, for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for watching us.